Alright guys, so what we're going to do here is some reaction / breakdown videos. I'm going to choose Gordon's latest upload to his YouTube channel as our first video on this style, and yeah, he's going to do a rolling round with Patrick Gaudio, and we're going to go through some of the things that are happening and a bit of my point of view on the training. And I've trained a whole bunch in the blue basement with the Danaher Death Squad, and then what became New Wave over at in Austin. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of a behind the scenes look. Okay, so again, all credit to Gordon for putting up the footage for us, and follow him or subscribe to him on YouTube. Look up Gordon Ryan and you will find him. So for those that don't know, the Roca Performance Lab where they are here is a sunglasses manufacturer, but they have this beautiful gym in their warehouse where they make the sunglasses, and they're kind enough to let the team train there. So it's so cool. They've got this crazy fit out gym and then this beautiful mat space to train on. There's John. He's always got his spot that he sits over there against the wall. Every training room there's like a spot where John sits and watches the session. It's interesting. If you know much about sumo culture in Japan, there's like a, I can't remember the name, but there's the coach that sits at the front of the room and just watches everyone practice, and John's kind of assumes that role in the training room. I think Gordon's been out for a little bit, so this is just leading up to Christmas. One of my students, Dave Stolescu, has been over there the last few months, and he's actually in this training session. You'll see our rash guards in there, the Sydney West rash guards, and he said it was a quiet session. Everyone had left to go to No-Gi Worlds. It was leading up to Christmas, and Gordon actually was coming off he hurt his knee at ADCC Worlds a few months ago, and then he's sprained his ankle or did something to his ankle, so he hasn't been in much. So this is him coming off the couch into training with Gaudio. So what they were practicing here in this session was, and the reason I know, I did a reaction video completely for you guys, and then my software and the way that I'm doing it just didn't work. So I'm trying my best. So this is actually the second time me watching it. So some of the things I already know as they're coming up. What John's teaching here is triangle setups, but then if your opponent starts to posture, they're going into lat juji katami or armbar variations, and John thinks it's a very powerful variation of armbar.
Continue the same move. The theme we're pushing today is that there is a version of Judy triangle situations. He goes to stand up, we deliberately push our training partner's wrist across and cover. When we scoop inside our training partner's ankle, we focus on bringing our knee over the crown of the knee. Left to go good. Strong tight heel, feet down to the mat.
See, if you have a look here, Gordon's got his left arm reaching around the hamstring, so there's nowhere to extract for Dave to extract his right arm here. He's got the scoop on the leg, so he can't pick you up, and the scoop gives you the angular advantage, and then you're just stuck in this ungodly tight armbar. And the nice thing here is you see the interplay between John and Gordon, you know, the best in our sport, and then you've got probably the universally thought of as the best coach in our sport, and still just working, building, and improving. It's a really cool dynamic.
From the feet come down with knees point in.
Not really. Goes down. Yeah, ankles come down. When David goes to twist, it's very hard to get away. Gordon take and mount a triangle position. And the top version of this. Here, we don't lock our ankles. We just take the hand, we put it behind, we grab our own thigh, and we come up into position like this. And left foot like this. Heel on the mat, good. And now pressure from the, again.
This is a nice detail that I wasn't aware of. I would have done what Gordon first did, pinching my knees together there over the head, but what John said is to step the foot up. So when he stepped up that foot, it raises the height of the fulcrum of Gordon's left hip and it makes the armbar substantially tighter. Okay, so let's square this away. This is a training round. So some people in the comments of this video were writing, you know, I wish they went harder and blah, blah, blah. Look, if you want to see them go harder, they had a match together on who's number one. You can watch that. You'll get to see them go at their full pace with each other. They're in the training room now. They're still probably relatively new to each other as far as training partners are concerned. And it's the first round, so they're still getting warm. John often gives the mount positional round as the first one. And they're just kind of asking a question of each other. The other one gives an answer, and you just keep kind of moving along. So don't freak out if you think they're moving slowly. I think the pace picks up as they move along, but this is how good guys can train with each other. It's not just a death match every round. Leading up to ADCC, I was in the training room, and trust me, there's plenty of death matches go on. So some people seem to be frustrated in the comments. This is actually a way that people train to improve their skills. Just so you're aware, the rules of engagement here are this. You're starting the mount position. The man on top can go wherever he likes, except back into the guard. If he ends up back with both his opponent's knees in front of him, the round stops. Or if the man on top ends up getting rolled to bottom, or if there's a submission either way. Other than that, it keeps going.
Because he doesn't even need much. It's like a tiny bit of his hand. He can't do anything. It's kind of good for me though to have somebody who not just that, it makes me more comfortable.
So you see here, this weave where you're seeing in side control, Gordon's trying to come in here. What he's trying to do is feed that leg back into a half guard, normally what we call a lower leg shift, or you might have heard it called coyote half guard. That's super common. You're going to see that come up a lot in this round. Gordon's always trying to force them back from side control back into the half guard. So just notice the switch between the standard half and then the hook coming in, going into the butterfly half. The butterfly half allows Gordon to really manipulate and move Gaudio up overhead here.
Mostly because I think when they didn't move their hands, the nature of the overhand. Mostly trying to work on my eyes, but a few times.
So you see there, Gordon put both knees back in front, so the sequence stops there, and then the other guy gets on top. It's a good way to train. It's definitely a good round to start with. So if you think about it, when you're in the mount position, if you're ever unsure what to look for, try and get an underhook, try and get their arm up above their head, the elbow above their head. If you can get both of them, great. That's the whole play here. You'll see Gordon will play between trying to get those grips, and if he can't, he'll dismount off the side control and then try and get a new angle. Now you're going to see Gordon go between square hips and then this switched hip position. This, what he calls universal starting position, where you turn your hips down and your knee into the pocket of their hip. And that's going to be the battle. And then what Gaudio's trying to do, you can see he's trying to get his left elbow in front of Gordon's knee and trying to then start to make an elbow-knee connection. And this will force Gordon to then have to go to square hips and then re-beat the knee. So you can see the battle they're having there for that knee position. And this is really nice. So Gordon goes into switching his hips there again, and what Gaudio's done is backwards rolled and scooped the leg and actually put Gordon overhead. Again, they're just kind of cruising with each other, but that was a kind of cool thing to do in that position. So what Gaudio does here, Gordon captures his lower leg in what we call lower leg shift, half guard. So a good counter for the man on top is to backstep the legs. You can backstep and pass, so Gaudio could settle that left crossface there and try to extract his foot. That's something Marcelo Garcia would do all the time. Or he can continue to sit back and pull into the saddle position with both legs controlled. That's what he chooses. So if you're ever stuck in this position and you're not sure what to do, from Gordon's perspective, what he should be doing is hand fighting to free his secondary leg. So his left leg, he wants to be able to pull that free, and then he can go into a series of turns to try and hide his heel. It's interesting how Gordon likes to deal with the saddle position. He doesn't just go into endless turns often. He did this in his match against, I think, Jacob Couch as well, maybe. I've seen him do it a few times now where he gets put into that saddle position and he turns and hides his heel. So he turned on his left hip and then he extracts the heel. He takes a grip on the heel, he extracts it, and now the guy's got no leg entanglement anymore. So Gordon went to backstep the leg. Gaudio widened his knee and stopped the backstep. So he stopped the backstep but left his bottom leg and fed Gordon's outside leg into this, are people calling it fishnet? What are they calling it? Something like that, where the wrong leg's kind of in the half guard. It's a funky position. But what Gordon decided to do was just sit and make it an outside ashi and attack the outside heel hook. He wants to have high hands here, right up to his chin. Gaudio slips the heel. So just here, you've got to be careful when you're he's trying to spin the leg and backstep and go back into the saddle position here. But if Gordon goes down to his shoulder here, his right shoulder, Gaudio can heist up on him and sort of sprawl his legs back. So what Gordon wants to do is knock Gaudio's hips back down towards that Roka sign. So what you'll notice is he's going to pull the bottom knee up so he can turn Gaudio's hips. Watch what he does. Gary Tonin in the background here. Gary's watched so much high-level jiu-jitsu. He's got 2 world champions in front of him and he's scrolling his phone. That's hilarious. So you notice every time Gordon goes to the octopus or overback, Gowdy either cross faces or he steps to the other side, which makes sense. Take a note here of this. So when Gordon's playing on his side here, and Gaudio's blocking the hip with the right hand, which makes sense in the position, Gordon takes control of his wrist, and what it does is allows him to off-balance him. He's going to use it in a little bit to more effect. So just to remind maybe people who are less experienced out there, if you want to escape a north-south pin, see what Gordon did? He didn't allow Gaudio to get inside his hips. He kept his left hand inside Gaudio's chest and then fed his left knee inside. So he always had the knee in. So if it was a match, there's no pass, but you can always build back out of that. And Gordon goes into a crucifix here. See, he's got hold of the wrist again here, so he's got the right hand on his wrist. Let's watch that. So Gordon actually tried a small knee lever type motion, but Gaudio was in side control, so he couldn't get his hips up off the mat. His hips were too far away. So watch what Gordon does here. He puts him into a lower leg shift. So he uses his right hand to feed the ankle back into the legs. So now what he does is he has the lower leg shift. He has the ankle stuck. This causes Gaudio to go to a knee. Anytime someone's knee's on the mat in half guard, you can knee lever them. Gaudio's also trying to feed the DAS. So what it means is Gaudio's got no left hand to post with. So watch Gordon knee lever him out to the right side by lifting his knees. Now, the beauty of a knee lever, it doesn't always knock someone good over, but see he's posted both hands to keep himself on top. This opens up underhooks galore. Okay, watch this here. This is a good sequence. So this is half guard retention, right? Gordon's in a half guard. Gaudio's gone and heisted right up here into a high tripod. Gordon's going to keep his knees very high so that he can stop him from passing into the mount position. All right, this is super cool. Again, because I've watched this, I know what happens here. It's very nice. I actually played around with this today in the training room. It's beautiful. So what he does here, Gaudio's got a crossface and his head's out here underneath the armpit. Whether Gordon allowed it to be under the armpit or whether Gaudio looked for it, doesn't really matter. You pin it down and you sort of take a lat grip. So now Gaudio can't lift his head any higher. So if you can take his hips and put it over the top of his head, you can sweep the guy. So watch, Gordon puts a right butterfly hook in and starts to elevate him overhead. He also uses the left hand. So look at the left hand post. That's important. That assists substantially. He gets to a point here where he's like, okay, my butterfly hook's running out of steam because I can't drive off the mat for a standard sumigashi. So Gordon pummels his right foot on the hip to a tominagi type position and sends him overhead. Really nice little sweep. He didn't get on top, but I think he probably could have if he wanted to. So I've seen Gordon in the training room give his back up to everybody, and his back defense is phenomenal. And he'll often let people trap his arms. I've seen him let good people trap his arms, and then he'll go into a series of escapes. See what he does. Okay, so see what he does here. He keeps his right hand in position, so his primary defensive hand is in position, so he can't just be strangled. He then takes his other hand and reaches to free the bottom leg out so he can sit off the bottom hook. So Gaudio's not going to have a bottom hook. Gaudio decides to trap the arm, which makes sense, but watch what it does. It leaves Gordon to sit out here, and he ends up in a crucifix type position. Okay, so if you have a look here, he's basically stuck in a crucifix. He slides his weight down so he can put his shoulders on the mat. So once the shoulder's on the mat, Gaudio's starting to lose him because the head's coming free. So there's nothing now stopping Gordon turning up into him. So if Gaudio stays flat here, he gets pinned on his back. So he comes up as well, and they end up in this single leg type battle. Okay, so look here. Anytime you're working on a single leg with someone, rather than always just gripping the hands together, consider using this grip where you weave your hand around inside the calf, and this will make it harder for your opponent to sprawl away. Your opponent will have to drop their hip substantially, and then you can hit cutbacks. And let's have a look how this plays out. So you see there, Gordon stepped around and tried to pull the knee in for a cutback, but Gaudio came up to his feet. So now Gordon's going to decide, okay, I probably need to go back behind this guy. So he switches to a tight waist and steps his knee around behind. Once the knee's behind, now this is definitely favour Gordon. He has to be careful about getting uchimated and whizzed over the top here. So you'll notice Gordon's going to switch his right hip. He's going to turn his right hip down and step his left leg back and pull the ankle up to shelf it. Pretty standard wrestling, but beautiful stuff. Gordon starts to set up to a triangle here. He's going to start to try and step over that arm because the elbow comes in so much. So Gordon wanted to go to a triangle there, but Gaudio kept his arm locked in and made it hard for him to get to a clean triangle, so Gordon's going to switch to a figure 4 grip. So remember what we know about kimuras. Once you get your figure 4 grip, you're trying to separate their hands and put their hand behind their back. That's all Gordon's trying to do here. What I think Gaudio probably should do at this stage, instead of reaching for the legs like this, is to take his right arm and reach across and try to strip the grip. That's probably a decent idea, but let's see how it plays out. Okay, so Gordon's rolled him through with a variation of half guard kimura there. Gaudio's strong. He managed to keep his arm semi-straight, so he didn't get submitted. Gordon's going to want to now heist up into what we call a side kimura. Let's have a look. Gordon wants to take his right elbow here and put it on the mat outside of Gaudio's hip. And then he wants to start to work on a break where he's lifting the elbow, not pushing the wrist. So something John trains all his students to do is to lift with the elbow, not to push with the wrist. If you're wondering how long the rounds are at these type of training sessions, good question. I don't know. I've been in John's training rooms a lot now, and you never know. The round could go for 5 minutes. It could go for, I did a round one day with Oliveira's. It went for something like 33 minutes. So you don't know. You just keep going. So this position here we call a high ball ride. Gaudio's got his hook in and his other leg locked around. He wants to throw the hook in, and Gordon wants to disrupt that. So watch what Gordon does with his legs. This is a good example of what to do if someone puts you in a high ball. So number one, notice Gordon's right hand, his defensive hand, his primary defensive hand is always in a good position so he can't be strangled. Number two, he starts to look at taking his feet and trying to separate Gaudio's feet, and then he's going to put his right foot in like a hook, and he's going to put Gaudio's leg, his left leg in this case, down towards the mat so much that he can knee cut over the top of it and hop off the hook. So Gaudio went to sit over there into an armbar or triangle. I'm not sure what he was after. I think maybe a triangle. Gordon forced the leg between his legs. It's very hard to finish armbars when the leg's in that position. You've got no cross-face leg. There's nothing stopping Gordon coming up into him at this stage. Now Gaudio's stuck with both legs down around the torso. He doesn't have a cross-face leg whatsoever. So you see what Gordon did? He took his left hand and he shoved his left hand and he shoved the legs down off the body. There's nothing stopping him hitting what we call a turn. Okay, so Gaudio's now switched to omoplata. Now in omoplata, what Gordon wants to be doing is sitting back, his head to the ceiling, so Gaudio gets put on his back. He doesn't want to let him grip his hands up. The other option is to roll forwards, but Gaudio's got his hips, so he can't roll. I hadn't seen that. So what Gordon did there was he couldn't roll forwards because of the tight waist. He couldn't posture back because Gaudio kept posting. So he rolled sideways. And in rolling sideways, as long as he deals with the fact, see, he's taking his left arm as a frame inside Gaudio's leg here. He can't be triangled now, and now he can just extract the elbow. Gary Toad at this stage is no longer on his phone. He's now having a little sleep, and you can see Gaudio looked at him there like, hey man, like we nearly rolled on you. Gaudio looks kind of stunned. So you notice Gordon's continually putting Gaudio overhead, so he has to post his hands, and now he can come out on this single. Let's see if he uses the same hand weave that we looked at earlier. So this time Gaudio counters with the arming guillotine, and Gordon has to capitulate onto his back to defend the guillotine. Okay, so start to recognize the position here. We saw this earlier. We saw Gordon deliberately trapping Gaudio's head, and Gaudio seeming to be happy with that as a passing position, and then he hit that Sumigaeshi Tomonagi. Let's watch if it happens again. Yep, happened again. Okay, so the round's over now, and now Gordon's just giving Patrick some feedback on the outside heel from the outside ashi.
Here, you have here, look at me. Instead of rolling first, try to come forward. Yeah, so come forward first, and then if you can't, then roll.
So what he's saying to him is, rather than just immediately turning out and exposing your heel, if you can hide the heel and slip the heel, which is what Gordon was doing there, that's a better play than just trying to immediately turn out. If you can't slip the heel, then turn out's a good idea.
Here, first before the hands are high. Exactly. Now you're out. But if you can't, come forward. If you can't do that, then roll. So come forward first. If you can't get out, then roll after.
Alright guys, so that's it. Thanks to Gordon for the footage. Hope he doesn't mind us re-watching like this. If you enjoyed the stuff you saw here, feel free to add in the comments other stuff you'd like me to review or react to or break down. I think it can't be on Flow Grappling because if it's behind a paywall, they won't let me. And yeah, hopefully this is something that's useful to you guys. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Catch you later.